Somewhere in southern Zimbabwe, hidden in a valley of granite hills, stand the ruins of a city so perfectly built, without a single drop of mortar, that when European explorers found it in the 1800s, they refused to believe Africans had built it. They blamed the Phoenicians, the Greeks, the Egyptians, ancient aliens got a mention. Anyone except the people who actually built it. They were wrong. The city was built by the Shona people over 900 years ago. It was the capital of a trading empire that reached China, and its walls are still standing.
Great Zimbabwe. The name itself tells you everything. In Shona, Zimbabwe means stone houses. Great Zimbabwe means the great stone houses. And great they are. From around 1100 AD, the Shona people, a Bantu civilization of farmers, cattle herders, and skilled metal workers, began building on this plateau in what is now southeastern Zimbabwe. By the 13th century, a full city had emerged. The hill complex at the top, the great enclosure below it, and a valley of stone houses spreading between them. At its peak, somewhere between 10,000 and 18,000 people lived here. Inside the great enclosure stands a mysterious conical tower, 33 feet tall, perfectly cylindrical, solid all the way through. Nobody knows what it was for. A grain silo, perhaps? A religious symbol? A monument to power? The Shona left no written records to tell us. The tower keeps its secret. The walls themselves are the miracle. Not a single stone is held together with mortar. No cement, no adhesive of any kind. The Shona builders cut granite blocks from the natural hillside, granite that splits naturally into flat slabs, and stacked them with such precision that they have stood for 700 years without any binding. Some of the walls are decorated with chevron patterns, zigzag designs cut into the stone itself, running along the top of the outer wall. Not structural, not functional, just beautiful. Someone 700 years ago decided that the world's largest ancient structure south of the Sahara should also be elegant. Great Zimbabwe wasn't just an architectural achievement. It was the center of a trading empire that connected southern Africa to the rest of the world. The Shona controlled the gold and ivory trade across the East African coast. Ships from Arabia, Persia, and China docked at coastal trading ports, and the goods they brought made their way inland to Great Zimbabwe. And we know this not from theory, but because archaeologists found the evidence inside the ruins. The Shona kings who ruled from Great Zimbabwe didn't just trade. They taxed. They controlled the routes. They set the terms. This was not a passive trading post.
It was an empire managing the flow of wealth across a continent and beyond it. When European explorers arrived at Great Zimbabwe in the late 1800s, the city had been abandoned for roughly 400 years. What they found, walls of this scale, architecture of this sophistication, broke something in their worldview. Because they had been told, and had told themselves, that sub-Saharan Africa had no ancient civilizations, no great cities, no architectural heritage. And here was proof, irrefutable, still standing, 36-foot-high proof that they were wrong. So they rewrote it. The ruins were attributed to Phoenicians, to ancient Egyptians, to King Solomon. Cecil Rhodes, who controlled what is now Zimbabwe as a colonial territory, actively promoted the theory that Great Zimbabwe was built by non-Africans, because the alternative was politically inconvenient. Archaeologists who concluded the ruins were African in origin had their findings suppressed. Great Zimbabwe was abandoned around 1450, the gold deposits exhausted, the land overstretched, the population migrating north to new territories. The city didn't fall. It was outgrown. The people moved on, carrying their culture, their masonry traditions, their identity with them. The Zimbabwe bird, a soapstone sculpture found in the ruins, depicting an eagle perched on a column, now sits on the national flag of Zimbabwe, a 700-year-old carving from an abandoned city chosen as the symbol of a modern nation. Because the Shona people knew exactly who built those walls. They never forgot. The world just took a while to catch up. If this is the first time you've heard of Great Zimbabwe, that's not an accident.
Subscribe, because we're just getting started on the histories that didn't make the curriculum. And drop a comment. Had you heard of Great Zimbabwe before today?